So please welcome Tracy Juechter to the show. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you so much for having me on, Ashley. I'm excited about this conversation with you.
Oh, I am too. And for people who aren't, how we connected is Peter D. He's been on my podcast twice. And, I've found him, gosh, a year or so ago. And it was funny because you were kind of the silent, the silent one behind him. And all of a sudden I'm just listening, Tracy this, book a session with Tracy. I'm like, what's going on? Like, where did Tracy all of a sudden come? Like from out of the woodwork, right? So then I have friends that have had sessions with you, and I had a session with you and just the team of you and Peter together. And then we created this amazing retreat in January that we get to do together. And it's just like, it's all these yeses. And I just love when you just keep saying yes to life and you just keep going. And it's just so beautiful to watch you unfold your and uncover your magic. So what I wanted to start with, Tracy, is explain to me, because I don't know this, is where did you start uncovering your magic? When? I mean, even like your background before you even met Peter, like where did this whole thing come from?
Okay. Um, well, I was always an energy sensitive, even as a child. I could sense what people were truly feeling beyond what their words were claiming they felt. I could walk into a room and know if there was just a big fight that happened in there, I could kind of sense things. And I deeply connected to nature in very profound ways. And that really was my sort of opening up to spirit, right? I lived in Mill Valley, California when I was very young. And I remember I would climb this pine tree and there was this beautiful mountain and it had the most incredible, like mothering energy. Like, so if I felt scared or lonely or whatever, I would just climb up this tree and connect to this mountain. And kind of throughout my life, there were relationships that I would have with special places or trees or, memories of a certain stream or something like that. And while I was raised Catholic and we did go to church when I was younger, really, I felt my strongest, like, wow, I'm part of all that is when I was out in nature.
Mm.
I'd say the first time I really started noticing that I could get information was I was working as a massage therapist. And about 2 years into my practice, I thought, wow, I wonder what would happen if I asked people's sacred higher self or their angels or whatever to guide me, to give me any advice they could give me about the client that I'm working on. And it pretty much started right away. I was pretty
Mm.
blown away. I just sat and quietly had this intent. I wonder what would happen. And the next thing I know, I'm hearing, like, move them in this rhythm. Like, okay, or tell them this. Why would I say that to them? I don't even know what that means, and I'm a massage therapist,
Huh.
right? They're like, "Oh, just go ahead and tell them." And I'd go, "Okay, I have no idea why, but I'm hearing this voice asking me to tell you this. So here goes," right? And their eyes might well up with tears, or they might just like put their hand over their heart and say, "Oh, thank you so much for sharing that with me." So it had meaning for them. So over time, I came to really trust whatever was coming in, that it was going to help people. And over time, my massage career became much more about um, trauma release work, um, finding the connection between people's emotional state and what was going on in their body and helping them free themselves up both physically and emotionally. And yet, when Peter asked me to step up and start being an ascension coach, even though he and I have journeyed together, all the classes in India, all the cryon stuff,
Right.
everything we've done together, but I still was stuck in this idea that, oh no, I'm just intuitive. I'm not a channel, right? Um, But then it became clear that, yes, I really am supposed to do this, and so I stepped up, and it was terrifying at first. I, like, "Oh
Mm,
my god, is anything gonna come through?"
huh,
But I guess all those years of doing it when I was a body worker anyway, and so it was just a shift of what I was asking about, right? I'm not asking about this pain in their body or this issue or anything like that. I'm literally asking their sacred team, what is it that's in the way of them fully expressing the authentic being that they came here to be? And then there's also whatever questions they ask me, but that's my main thing that I do is find out what is it that needs to be cleared so that they can be completely free and just go for it, whatever it is they're wanting in their life.
right. When I had my session with you and we were doing clearing and, with Peter's, and I've done his clearing process, that's, many times, and it's really transformed me and opened my channel. And it's interesting when I look back, and I remember in the middle of the night I would get these, it would come to me and after I was doing the clearing. But when I had my session with you, it was more to me like such a confirmation of like past life regressions that I've had in like you brought up things that I had seen in my past life, but regressions before. And we dealt with shame, the ancestral trauma, right? So we
Mhm.
explain like that's really what you do. You really go in there and clear those words of shame, whatever they are, guilt, those kind of words, and clear that so you can start um, living your really truly authentic, what your soul came here to live, right?
Yeah. And I think what's different is, well, one, we're in this new energy that's amazing, that's much lighter, less dense, and so it's easier to clear things. But I think, most forms of therapy, or if you go to someone for a hypnosis regression to a past life, I'm not sure they're really calling on the power of the connection between both your spirit team and my spirit team working together to clear the frequency of whatever it was, the guilt, the shame, the um, feeling like you have beliefs that I'm not good enough, or I'm not meant to be a spiritual teacher or leader, or whatever it is that's there, that's kind of been held back, held down. When we call in a team to help do that, it is amazing how quickly and with the ease and grace that it can happen. And literally, I watch people transform. They come and their energy's one way, and then the next minute they're like laughing and feeling so free and can't even imagine they had been so tied up in knots, 20 minutes earlier.
Huh. So let's go back to what you were just saying. So the energy right now, there's the frequency that we're living in. And you were saying before we hit record that, people are tired. Oh, I'm tired. I'm looking at my eyes and like putting drops in because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm tired. And then the girls are like, Mom, I'm so tired. And then you bring that up, like it's just this all the like the fifth dimension, like we're moving into this new frequency and it's
Yeah.
different. It's creating something different in our body. Will you explain that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we are literally transforming our nervous systems right now with these frequencies coming in. Our chakras are modifying, right? When we were just in 3D, mostly we needed food, air, water, shelter, and yes, our chakras did bring in a little bit from the etheric realm, but basically, we were more in like survival mode, attending to our personal needs, relationships, and stuff like that. In this new frequency, our chakras are taking on a much more active role. They're like antenna that are developing and going further out and helping integrate different energies into each one of our chakras, is how my team has been showing it to me. And then from there, it's it's like we can integrate that, and we shift into this whole nother place that makes it so much easier for people to like connect to their divine in a tangible way, right? Most of us know, we know, they're there and they love us and stuff like this. But then it starts becoming where you actually feel them, you actually hear them, maybe you see them, right? It's just like they're a part of your everyday life, always there with you, always supporting you in everything that you do. And so many people having the experience of getting these beautiful new 5D gifts and abilities, right? Whether that's being able to channel or light language coming through, or maybe by location, or who knows what's next. I haven't seen a lot of telekinesis yet, but I imagine we're going to be seeing
Mm,
it.
right. Yes. And so with your gifts and what you've uncovered your light language. That's new too, right? How to
Yeah.
explain the progression of, from when Peter said, "You're gonna start being my, you're gonna start doing some, this work too. You're gonna be my sidekick. You're gonna now it's like you guys are like a team, right? Like it's a full on
Yeah.
force, like two forces, and it's
Yeah.
so fun to watch whatever I've seen, and I've been watching your videos to prepare for this and, seeing this progression of like, "Oh my gosh," and then the light language comes and then this. So you talk about how and I think when you say trust and allowing and like letting it and just know it just keeps coming, and that's part of that. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times what I'm clearing is that people have an underlying belief like I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. And so then that stops the allowing because I guess I've been blessed in that I've kind of always just had this natural like curiosity and ask out of places that are not anything that I've learned from, right?
Oh,
I mean, even when we did our trips to India, it was actually the temple, this beautiful marble temple, Akam, that got me to go to India. I had
oh,
dreams of singing and dancing in this temple for like a year. So I kind of
wow.
got over my fear that I would go to India and see all these children begging who had been, purposely disformed so that they could beg, and that I would just give away all my money and get back on the plane and go home. Right? That's
Oh,
why I
funny.
had resistance to going into India. But finally, the temple called me there. And I think towards the end of my second month-long spiritual boot camp out there,
Wow.
um, I loved the temple so much. I just felt it had this huge consciousness, which it does. I mean, it named itself Akam.
Hmm.
And because I just so much love sharing anything I've gotten to experience, or even products I like, or it doesn't matter. If there's something I love, I want to share it with others. So I
Yeah.
was lying on this white temple floor towards the end of my second time there. And we had this beautiful ongoing meditation circle back in Santa Fe. So I was like literally asking this temple, like, is there any way I can bring your energy somehow back with me so that when we're doing our meditation circle, they can feel like I do when I'm here in you? And it was just like so wild, right? It's just this wild question that I asked. And then all of a sudden, the temple started showing me,
Huh.
yeah, I want you to first visualize the huge mandala on the third floor. And then I want you to expand it out to the doors on all the sides. And then I want you to see, the open pyramid shapes, and then do this, and then do this. And so it was like, okay. And what was so cool was I started doing that without particularly sharing that that's what I was doing, right?
Mhm.
And Peter was able to confirm. He goes like, "Wow, what are you doing?" I just felt like we were in Acom,
Oh my gosh.
the temple. Like he
Right.
felt it. He felt the energy as I was sitting, at the beginning of our meditation circle, calling in this temple. He could feel it.
Wow.
And so I just had enough experiences of like, okay, I'm going to ask this crazy thing and we'll just see what happens.
Wow.
that I've now started trusting that if it's possible, right? And I'm in the right state to receive it, there's so much we can ask for.
Right. Do you feel like, when did the light language come? And do you feel like, do you see in our future living in this? I mean, we're close to the same age, um, with moving toward, the end of our life here on this earth in this body. Will the normal, I mean, now, if I spoke a year ago, maybe even, yeah, a year ago, for me anyway, about light language, it would be like,
Mhm.
what? Now it's just common. It's so common, right?
Yeah. So I feel like the gift of service accelerates how many gifts you can receive. And so that's what our third class is about, our weekend intensive. That's our online class, because we really have come to understand that the more you're willing to share and give what you already have, the more you are going to be gifted with new gifts and abilities. So when I very first started doing sessions for people, it was super slow getting
Hmm.
the information, and it would drop in like little dribble by little dribble, and I always felt embarrassed, like, oh my God, how long have I been quiet trying to listen to their team and hear what I need to understand. And then over time that got quicker, that got easier. um I know my body had to transform a lot after we had one big interview, and I suddenly went from maybe doing 6, 7 sessions in a week, no more than 2 a day, and suddenly I was doing, like, 4 sessions a day.
Wow.
My body was toast. I was going to bed at, like, 8 o'clock at night. I was just exhausted. It was all I could do to make it through those 4 sessions every day. And then over time, my body adapted. Like now I can run the frequency of my team and the frequency of other people's team for, 6 hours in a day and still have energy to like have a normal evening,
Oh,
which is
funny.
really great. So, first, there was that integration process. And then I would say my team often sends me places if I'm supposed to be there, if there's something I'm going to bring that's going to help. And so my team told me I needed to be at a Stargate event that was going to happen in Mount Shasta, California in January, which was very intense because the schedule is full. I had to, like try and reschedule a whole week of people with nowhere to put them. But it was like really strong, like go.
That's what you're doing,
So I was
right?
like, okay, I will go.
Huh.
And so I arrived, and it was actually my first Stargate experience. I'd been really attracted to them, but didn't have time to run off to Greece for a 3-day event or
Right.
whatever it was. But Mount Shasta was doable, thankfully. And so we went, and that's a group run by a beautiful couple that connect a lot to 12th dimensional beings, and they have a like 7 foot tall, amazing structure that they call a Stargate.
Okay.
So of course I was fascinated with this because I'm like, oh, I wonder if I can integrate this or have a way to, bring one of these home without having to have the actual thing, right?
Right. When you say
And so I
Stargate,
was
what do you mean
connecting
by
to
that
it.
first? What does that mean when you say Stargate?
It's it's an actual structure made out of different metals and crystals and silver and copper wire, I believe in it. And it's all this sacred geometry, and they set it up. And for whatever reason, it creates like a portal to ET brothers and sisters.
Hmm.
That's mainly what the frequency of it is, bringing in these really higher dimension beings to
Huh.
have them come in and assist.
Because Mount Shasta is like a portal, right? That's a high.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a portal. And we were so blessed because this happened to be in their house that was right at the foot of Mount Shasta. And it was a very intimate circle of maybe 30, 40 people at the most. So it was really beautiful to be right in the energy of Mount Shasta as we were
Huh.
doing what we were doing. But I remember we called in a bunch. There was like Buddha and Oh man, I'm gonna blank out on the names. Uh, who else was there? Anyway, it was during this meditation with these four amazing beings that all of a sudden my hands started moving in these weird ways, like just with no, like what the heck is going on here?
Right. Like uncontrollable.
And I would try and push them down and stop, and then the next thing I knew, the minute I took my focus away, they were doing their thing again, right? And it was shortly so for some people they do hand light language, right? It's
Hmm.
all like, and there was a woman who was present there who had this, and she had the most exquisite hands, right? I mean, her fingers could do that thing where they bend way back. So the motions she
Oh,
would make
wow.
with her hands were exquisite. But I believe when we go into a field with others who have gifts, if we have any resonance for those gifts, they transfer,
Hmm.
right? So it started with my hands. And then probably a month after that, this wild, when I was doing a session with someone and really wanting to help them clear something that was very stuck, in their third chakra, I was, using my hands, and suddenly this voice came out, this very powerful, wild voice.
Huh.
And it was just like, oh my God. And I'd heard other people's stories, right? The people, oh, I was driving along on the highway, and suddenly for the next hour, this words that weren't words that I knew were pouring out of my mouth. And I actually reached over and hit record on my phone, right? And this is how it starts for people. Just all of a sudden, without you having any conscious control over it, it just starts pouring through. So in that case, I don't even think that particular friend ever consciously asked for light language. It just must have been she had always had this deep sense that she needed to go to Greenland.
Hmm.
And she finally went there. And for whatever reason, that was her, energy alignment or something that maybe helped her remember doing this. I don't know. I can't say it feels like remembering to me, but it does have a similarity every time that I do it, and it sounds totally different than anybody else's light language that I've ever heard.
Hmm.
And the sense that I don't understand it either, but I do have a sense of like, okay, they are clearing something right now. I can feel how powerfully they are moving to like
Huh.
just take something out of the field that needs to be gone. And then other times I feel them making connections between different places in the body or connecting source energy in somewhere, past a blockage that it might have had previously, doing things to enhance the chakras. So I get a vague sense of what it is that it's about, but I don't understand the actual words.
I don't either. But where does that come from? Is it coming from your higher self? Is it coming from, like where do you feel like that? Is it coming? I know people have said it doesn't even come from your mind or your mouth. It's coming from your heart. Is that how you feel?
Hmm. It feels kind of like it's coming out of the center of my body, maybe both my gut and my heart. Um, but honestly, it feels like something that kind of comes from my energy field and then sort of just comes through my body and then out my vocal cords. It's
Hmm.
like these waves of energy that come somehow from behind.
Huh. Because I had interviewed Deb Clark. She probably a year ago now, and she activates people with their light language.
Mm.
And I feel like, and I've watched you speak. I've watched our mutual friend do light language in person. And it's scary. Like I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. It scares my, like I don't know what would be coming out. I'd be like, I've had people tell me like on a podcast where they'll be at the grocery store, they'll be like, oh my gosh, here it comes.
I don't feel that lack of control with it. No, I haven't had that experience. Um, it always seems to come in service to something that I'm asking to have shifted, opened, released with a client, or, in transmissions during our classes if we're doing something, live work, especially if people permission me to, like, in a kind of generalized way, connect in with them and we're doing specific clearings for them. My team will, like, okay, this person right there, boom, and then the light language will come out and it'll be directed toward an individual in the class for a while. And then, okay, my
Huh.
attention gets drawn elsewhere. And so, yeah, it's always coming out in service to helping somebody at some level.
That's the new book, right? That Peter wrote is this, it's about service. Is that
Yeah, and we won't be teaching anybody light language because, like I say, I don't even know how this really happened for me. But I do feel for sure putting yourself in places where you're around people who have already raised their field will absolutely raise your field. And as you do more clearing work, as you raise your energy field, you're just going to be available for whatever gifts align to you to come in.
right? So what's coming to me right now is, we all are, I mean, my circle, my tribe, you're in my tribe. We're all raising and opening and clearing and our vibration and moving into the 5D and, moving through the, four and getting to, you know what I mean? We're
Mhm.
progressing through from 3D up and I feel it. I feel it. We were in Sedona a few weeks ago and it was like so intense. People were throwing up, they were nauseous, they were, I mean, talk about tired. It was just weird. I've never experienced that energy. And
Yeah.
we were all together. We were seeing Bashar. So it's like the people there even had that feeling. We were all so vibrating so much higher. And when we're connected like that in that same area, you feel like, whoa. I mean, that had to be part of it. But
Yeah.
right? Like, so
Well,
explain
I
that.
mean, the combination of Sedona with all the vortexes,
Right.
Bashar, and I just imagine his team is huge, even though he mainly channels one Melchizedek. Is that it? I think
Bashar.
that, yeah,
Daryl,
Bashar.
Daryl, Anka is his name, but then he channels Bashar.
Ah, okay. I was
Yeah.
thinking of someone else, I guess. But anyway, yeah. So anyone who's channeling is tapping into some kind of very high level being, right? So
Right.
then there's that in the field. And that combination, I imagine you guys were really going through transformation, which can feel like on the human body, I'm exhausted, I have brain fog, I don't remember where I left my water bottle.
Right. Oh, funny. But do you feel like this time of our life, like we chose to come at this, like this is a pinnacle time in the history of this earth. And we all decided we're coming to, I mean, ascend the human race to move
Yeah.
forward. And we're kind of joining together. I mean, I look at the people I've been interviewing lately and we're all kind of talking the same. It's all so similar in the message. And it's so fascinating to be living like that and also seeing, like, I don't live in the 3D world by knowing what's the political stuff. And, I put my blinders on but I know that's going on because it's very much part of right now. Like it's huge, right? So when you think of the 3D earth still going on, um, this I don't even know how to say it, the darkness, the denseness, that the polarity of what this earth is. We're coming where we were, but we're kind of now these when I say the whole group at Sedona wasn't there, right? We were like far from that denseness. So now that I feel that way, even now on my own, without if I'm just by myself, it's like, oh my gosh, I've removed myself from that. I'm not turning my head and not looking and not and not knowing that that's not really going on, but it is. How do you describe how you live when all this denseness is still here, but
Yeah.
we're just like floating in the air. So doing light
Yeah.
language,
And
channeling
and
for
that's
people.
and I just want to make it clear to people, for Peter and I too, that we're not in 5D yet. We're
Right.
still in 4D, which is like the transition. And so we have moments where, yes, we're expressing our highest version of ourself, and we're, completely like in love and in peace and knowing all is well. And then, no, we have human minds. We will always have a human mind, and we can react to things. And I think the difference is you get faster and faster at catching,
Mhm. For sure.
because it's like your feelings are your key of, am I thinking and being in a state that serves me?
Right.
Because if my feelings start going really dark or angry or depressed or whatever, then I can know, okay, I'm not looking at whatever situation I'm in correctly, right?
Mhm.
Because I know I have that power to choose in any moment. Now, Peter and I also know that it's super important, as you have these feelings, you don't try and bypass them, right? You notice,
Right.
like, wow, I am really caught up in frustration and overwhelm right now. So I am going to go take a few minutes and just allow frustration to be welcome in my field, right? What are you here to show me? I'm so grateful that you signaled me that I am not,
Mhm.
thinking about what's going on in my life in the correct way, and letting it have sound or motion if that feels authentic in your body, or whatever it is you want to do with it. And then once you've like really let it be present for a while, my favorite thing is just to ask and allow for it to become pure energy and return back to source. And then I feel calmer. And then I go, okay, you've been telling yourself you have too much on your plate, and
Mhm.
it's too intense, the stress of getting the book out and all this stuff. And those thoughts do not serve you. And you need to just remember, it isn't you. You and your team are doing this. You always have help. So you need to be remembering more to like just take a deep breath and go, thank you, team, for being here with me, doing this with me. Thank you for allowing the stream of writing to come out effortlessly onto the paper, or whatever it is that I need to shift inside me so that I move out of stress and frustration and into relaxed allowing of everything as it's meant to unfold.
Right. You just brought my mind to, Paige is in college first month, and I've heard that she's been the overwhelm word, right? Learning how to, she's on the crew team 2 practices a day, and, studying and this whole new life and living independently. And what you just brought to me was I was listening to her talk, and she's in, or a text message, and you could see the words overwhelmed, stressed, tired, da da da. And I said to her yesterday, I go, isn't it going to be interesting? I said, and I said what you just said, like, like look at how, what does that mean to you? Like it's all perfect, and it's going to be so fun to see, where how you grow from. I start turning her thoughts around, and
Hmm.
her message back to me was like, there was not even since I started to reprogram her the way she thought in a different, I didn't know I was doing that until you just said that, but it was like she doesn't talk like that anymore. It was so fun to watch her
Wow.
transform, and just me saying it's okay to be that way, but isn't it going to be fun to see like how you grow through that? And it's okay to feel that way, because we're all going to feel that way. We're human. And but then to know that you have power over your those you can like embody it, but then let it go and be, like just dissipate and let it see it go. And I always say to her, like, see that word in your mind like in a cloud, and let it just pass, right? Just see it go.
Yeah.
And you can feel that, but it's so, and I love that because I really feel like I learned that from Peter, actually. When I would read his, it's like about you can't, you've got to feel it. You can't ignore that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So key. And it's a skill that you learn to do because in our culture, most of us have had conditioning around like, oh no, don't feel those feelings. Just push them down, distract yourself, do something else, and they'll just eventually go away. But unfortunately, they're not really going away. They're just getting buried.
Right.
And
And
it
then we'll have to
zaps
have
your
another
energy.
session with you and get them cleared.
Yeah. And I think, it's a beautiful example with your daughter. And then it doesn't honestly really matter whether you're in college, working, not working. This integration of all these new energies is happening, even for people. It's not like, oh, I'm not on a spiritual path, so I don't have to deal with that. No, guess what? Everyone does. Everyone is sitting in these frequencies along with whatever the energies of the solar flares are. And I'm not into the whole horoscope thing, but my friends who are, I mean, it just seems like we've had one intense formation after another, whatever it's been. And so the combination of all those things, we're going to feel it in our physical bodies.
Right.
And there's really nothing else to do but accept and understand, like, yeah, we're transforming right now. We're going to be tired. Let's try and get to bed a little earlier. Let's go let ourselves lie down for 20 minutes when we feel tired instead of trying to push through.
Right. I do my automatic writing. I do that that's my way of channeling. And I've learned to trust that more. And I think since I've learned how to clear with you and Peter, it's become easier and more, it's definitely flowing more so. And just you saying that reminded me, my automatic writing keeps coming through since I was in Sedona is your,
Mm,
um, you've activated, what was it? You activated your DNA. It's being upgraded. And it keeps saying upgrade, DNA activation. Those are a lot of words in my writing. And it's like, where did that come from?
yeah. And actually, like, it's amazing. I recently went down the whole rabbit hole of Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary and the Essenes before that and the Druids and all the way back to Avalon. I did a process where I got to see that I had a life as an initiate in Avalon.
Hmm.
And even in a beautiful channeled book called Sisterhood of the Doves, about Mary Magdalene and the lineage, um, they were talking even back then that, Christ was taken to numbers of different magi, which were actually ET brethrens, you know, who helped him activate 12 strands of his DNA. So there's very much a biological part to this awakening that I've come to understand. And of course, Bashar did it as well. And so that was part of what you guys were doing in Arizona. And maybe that's a gift we could give to your audience today. You're holding the space of having some of that activated. I have had some of that activated. What would you think about us? Um, well, me in this case, since
You.
I'm the guest, but also with you and your intent and willingness, since you are also an incredibly powerful being, that I connect to my team and we send out a blessing for first clearing anything that's in the way of this, new 5D energies, frequencies, gifts coming in, and then asking for an activation of any aspects of the DNA or chakras that is ready to receive that.
Bring it on, Tracy.
Okay. I, I get to be
I love it.
quiet for a minute and
Yes.
step out of the way, and then my team will come back and
Perfect.
do this.
Perfect.
Oh, and they just reminded me, you better scoot back because we are going to be using your body.
Watch out.
Watch out, microphone. Beautiful ones, we are so grateful to have this opportunity to be with you today. We love this request that you have made. It is essential that all humans at this point attend to themselves very well in this transition period. We wish you to know that we absolutely will have these same energies present no matter when you are watching this podcast. So, first, we would ask something of you because you are sovereign beings and nothing can be done without your permission. We ask you to take a breath, sink into your heart. And if this feels like a gift you would like, a clearing of anything keeping you from fully integrating these 5D energies and any gifts that may be aligned with your soul, then ask. Ask and allow. Permission this so that what we do is allowed to enter your field, make changes to your nervous system, open places inside yourself that need to be opened, and anything else that is called for this request to be answered. There is another message we would like to give you before we start this, which is that you can know absolutely, just by the fact that you are attracted to being here, that you are a match for what is being given. If you were not a match, you would have only watched one of these kinds of episodes for 5 minutes and said to yourself, those people are crazy. I'm not going to waste my time. So first, just relax into knowing this is all already within you. We will simply be helping you activate it and move it along.
Hiashtukatuna shia fia si no hua. Ishukoto shiana si achan tua shi kataka shana katu. Lachatu hasiana gada ba vasikotukat si. In la hata katu shua nekatata. Fino ashiata katnesi du akatashia nakata katoaka. Ishanakatasa. O shonanarasia katoto. O anekatashia kata. Ilachatuka shiana kotu. Ayahutukachi. Hayahatakatoko washta. O yakato ania shiba tataka. Hana yashanu ya shiba teketatua. Hunya huya katashiana na haya. Siana katatashiana daka. Uwa. Uwa. Ina yua katoto shiana katashta. Shina katashia ku. Oh ya biashiana katatesia. In ho yoya tatashiana katatia. Oh, si nua hiakatia shi toria katia tush. Oh, ya nuha nua ya. Oh, ya tikatushtua. Ah, nia nushaya tukotushtua. Dala kotushia, dala kanea. Oh, si no hia tu kashia do. Oh. Ia neketashi dua hilaha. Yes, tata kotua shia data. Si anaketika shia daka. Oh, nahnia shia naba. Wah, yakata shia takato. Oh, no, si iakatanti. Wah, si atakisha. Oh, fuana hiakata shia dekua. Mm.
And this next part comes through silently, through my eyes, through my hands, through my heart. Oh, beautiful ones, this can be so much easier than many of you imagine. Remember to laugh, play, relax. Find that lightness of being. Yes, 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 yes. You are so beautiful when you are expressing your lightness. Remember, this is the time of allowing, not efforting. So relax, beautiful ones. All is coming to you exactly as you asked before you came into this body. Thank you for letting us be with you today.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Wow, Tracy. It's so, that was so powerful. Do you remember doing it? Do you go somewhere?
Um, Well, not that I could remember what the language did, but I do remember that there was a sense where, yes, they were clearing. There was a lot of overlays um, in the heart and the third chakra that they were working very intensely on. And then that went up through the whole mechanism of the throat chakra, right? Being able to express authentically, so important. And then there was an activation down in the second chakra for an attunement of the energy so that it's more aligned to the 5D energies, so that as people are creating, that creation energy that arises out of that second chakra will be a match for these new energies, so that whatever you are choosing to create, manifest, will happen with much more ease and grace. And then there was just a period of like attuning all through all of the chakras, connection deeply into Gaia and her energies, because she's already in 5D, right? So that connection into Gaia and allowing her frequency to come up into all the chakras, and then source energy to fill from the crown each of the chakras. This is how they were ending, asking and allowing for this to just go to each person as naturally as breathing.
When you say that the Earth, Gaia, is she's already in 5D. When we were born, was it? It's it was in 3D. Is that
Yes, this has been, I don't know, it's so hard, linear time, but in the last 5 to 10 years
okay?
is when Gaia made her shift.
So the children that were born within those years of the new shift, are they, do they not need to be activated? They're already at um that active, that DNA level.
I'm going to ask my team because I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
They're saying for many, yes, because of course they were choosing to come in, right? Knowing this transformation would have already happened. Others of us came to help pave the way for the transformation to happen. So many of them chose parents who are aligned and they are in it. But there are others who chose difficult journeys into parents with heavy densities, and those densities would be a greater influence on a child even than the earth energies.
Hmm.
So when they have cleared what they chose to clear through choosing of the parents that they did and the challenging circumstances, it will be easier and faster for them once they have moved what they came here to move.
Huh. Interesting. I never heard that in that way. I think of the children when I work with children and I see their light, and I see also the programming that has been done, even at, we know that pretty much they're done by 7, right? And but I know it's so surface at that stage. It's like, and that's, I think I crave it when I see these children, and it's like, oh, wait, I see my power. Like they get all excited and they start you can just see it come, right? And that to me lights me up so much. And I know we've shared that together in our session when I was explaining to you, like
Yeah.
what's my passion in life is to see these children realize who they truly are and help them along that path. And that's like, so it's it's like so deep embedded in my soul. But so that's why, when I think of looking at this earth and really where my children and you have your children, and you know moving into the, where they're going and what they get to experience, and that they chose us as parents, and the ones that chose the hard path, and I think sometimes I look at it like the ones that chose the hard path are the more ascended souls, so they could help their more densely, the parents that they chose to move out of that density quicker. Does that resonate with you?
For sure, anyone who's chosen a difficult journey is at least an older soul, right?
Right.
But it doesn't mean that they can't be overwhelmed by how much they took on, right? Because we have a memory wipe, so we don't remember, right? And the
Right.
innocent little children that we are when we're severely abused and all that, and lots of different circumstances can pile up, and um, occasionally, people don't manage. I just had a session with somebody yesterday where her father had died, and we had him come in, be there for the clearing, and what he apologized to his daughter about was, wow, once I had my life review, I was able to see that I remembered that I came in to clear this multi-generational pattern where the men don't trust the women, and we exercise control through finances, and I really had intended to clear that this lifetime and I didn't manage it, and I am so sorry. He was apologizing, and then it was a beautiful thing because I thought, well, does he have to be in a physical body? Or can
Right.
we just, call in the team to help like clear and complete this now? And so there was a beautiful healing of it, sort of backward in time and into all the living descendants and stuff, similar to an ancestral clearing, but this one came from just one person, who was hurt by something her father had done to him.
Hmm.
And then it was all able to be processed and healed. Um, but that was, that's for sure why I have a knowing that, yeah, we don't always manage to do what we set out to do, what the patterns that we set out to clear while we're here. And I assume that's true for others as well. But I think in these new energies, these little ones coming in will probably have worked out whatever challenges they, chose to experience through choosing the parents that they did much, much younger, right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think most of us was in our 30s where we started to really
Right.
question whatever we were taught to
Right.
believe from
Yeah.
our parents and clear out any old bad feelings about what went on in our youth and stuff. And I imagine most of most of these younger ones coming in will be doing that by their teens. And people like you who have a vision to help them feel empowered from early on will be part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. What um what do you how what is your practice? Like what do you do? How often are you connecting? Are you spending the whole day like, you know, y- accessing your guides and intuition, listening to your intuition? I know we're all human, but how do you keep practice? Is that a constant practice in your life?
Um, I mean, for me, it's really important that I spend time when I'm not in sessions with people, that I'm not always running those frequencies. But I like to be in motion more than sitting for meditations. And so I go for walks, and often that's my time where I um, hold maybe an intent about something, but then I let it go, right? Uh, you know, every step I take on this walk, I'm going to have more and more clarity about this next chapter in the book. But then I know it's so important that often it's when we're distracted and just at
Mm-hmm.
ease that the next download comes in. And so then, as much as possible, I try and walk somewhere where I know I'll see things that I find beautiful or amusing, or, just be looking at the clouds or the beautiful blue sky we already have here. And I try just as much as possible to just be in the moment, observing, offering gratitude for everything that I see. That's one of my favorite ways to connect. And quiet tub time in the hot tub is another
Right.
time. I especially like to do it at night and just looking up at the stars and the silhouettes of the trees and everything. I just go into this very relaxed state, and I find that's often where I just have conversations with my team about whatever it was,
Mm-hmm.
whatever information came up that I'm curious about. And, this is so important that we do this. I can read a lot of stuff and get fascinated, but then I always have to make sure I take that quiet time to check in and see what really resonates with
Mm.
me, what feels like the truth for me. I don't ever want to just parrot what somebody else is saying. We're all different antenna. We hear information differently. So yeah, even for your audience, take what serves you today of what I say, right? Make sure you check inside you. Does that feel like the truth to me?
Right.
We
Oh,
each
I
get
love
to
that.
hold our own.
Right. I'm the same way when I go outside. I love it. That's my connection too. I do meditate and do my breath work, but I do that before I go out, and I feel like I'm extra my open and cleared. Clear, clear, clear. But yeah, you just kind of got me more realizing how powerful that appreciation for nature and gratitude. And I even was driving into my neighborhood, I think yesterday, and I felt like the trees were greener, the colors were more vibrant, and I was like, "Is what's going on?" It's like, am I seeing color like in a brighter dimension? But I don't know if I was just really in gratitude and like looking at how I can drive through the street every day and looking at these trees, and they were almost like changing their color of green. It was this more vibrant color. It's like it had been painted.
Yeah, I remember when I first was given the gift of awakening through going through these spiritual boot camps and Oneness University. They had these beings who could check in and see if you had been given awakening, which I think is
Oh,
important
really?
to define how they define it for people. So their definition of awakening is when you have a 600th of a second gap between when you think a thought and when you hear the thought you've thought,
Huh.
right? And so it's this little distancing that happens between you and the local mind, right? So your local mind is the part that is negative, destructive. What was the third one? I'll think of it. But at any rate, so we have two aspects to our mind, right? What Peter and I like to call universal mind, the mind
Hmm.
that taps into the all that is, that's like expansive, creative, knows there's abundance for all, right? You know, seeks to assist and be there for everyone. And then there's local mind, and it's very much connected to survival and kind of lack consciousness. It's negative. It's horrible. And so before we have that gap, we believe, all those thoughts like, oh, you really blew that. You were so stupid. I can't believe you said something that way, or whatever it is, right? When you have this gap, there's an ability to be in that place of the observer and go, wow, my mind is so mean to me. I
Hmm.
can't believe it's giving me these messages, constantly. Wow. And so you really get to observe all the little tricks monkey mind does in order to keep you in sameness, because
Hmm.
any growth seems like a threat to your unconscious,
Right.
right? They know you are alive how you are now. Walking down this new path, we don't know. We don't know if you're going to be alive, so we're going to try and distract you and keep you from doing that.
Right.
And we all have different ways that our mind does that. Uh, but what triggered me to start sharing about this was when you talked about the colors. So when
Hmm.
I first, started noticing I could watch my mind like TV, wow, I can't believe. Okay, like my mind just gave me 20 ways that I needed to be more comfortable before I could start this process, just to
Oh, funny.
distract me,
Right.
right? Or whatever it is. But I remember um, suddenly colors were brighter, and I had never honestly had very much sense of smell. I had some, but it was much lower than most people's. And I started noticing smells, and in fact, they always burned this beautiful sandalwood when we were at Oneness Universities and they were doing any kind of, ceremonial offerings. And I was like, oh my God, no wonder they offer sandalwood. It's intoxicating. It is such a beautiful smell, right? I'd gone, a whole other month, another time. I'm sure they were burning it all the time. I never even
Wow.
noticed it.
Huh.
So that's another way people can know that, yes, I am moving into awakening, because I almost described it, if you've ever done magic mushrooms, colors are brighter, right? And you're just
Huh.
so present and in the moment, and sounds are amazing, smells are amazing. That's kind of like what awakening is like.
Huh.
And you get
That's
used to it after a while, so you don't feel like you're in an altered state like you do when you're on mushrooms. It just becomes your new normal.
right. Yeah, I've never done any kind of plant medicine. And if I was, we were having this conversation with of some friends, and I said if I was going to do something, that would probably be more. I wouldn't be. I feel like it'd be more of a calm, a calm experience with the mushrooms. But I feel like that's becoming so that those words are everyone talks about that. That's just regular. That's like taking your vitamins. You know.
Well, I've never been attracted to do things too many times, but I do believe if you use plant medicines as teachers and you consciously choose to take them and put yourself in with an intent into the experience, you can learn a lot from them. And unfortunately, they are used a lot for more entertainment or escaping
Right.
from the reality or whatever. But the truth is, every plant medicine I've ever done, within only a few times I've taken it, I've always heard my team say, okay, now you're done.
Oh,
You can call this up whenever you want. In my first marriage, we even did that. We had done ecstasy together, which puts you in a state where you do not have judgment. You
hmm.
can totally see everything as exquisite and exactly as it's meant to be. There's no judgment about it. And so he and I sometimes, if we would be getting into it, we'd want maybe one or the other of us would remember, like, okay, wait a minute, let's take a few breaths and imagine, like, put ourselves in that state when you're in an ecstasy, and then like listen to each other from that place.
Hmm.
Like, however you are is beautiful, and it may be different than me, but let's listen to each other and acknowledge what we're each wanting, and then see if from that place of non-judgment, can we figure out a solution that works for both of us? Or can we move into an acceptance of like, okay, this is really important to you and you're going to be doing it and I'm
Right.
not.
Right. Oh, huh. Yeah, I've never done that. I was, I don't know, never attracted to doing drugs. I
And
mean, that,
so that probably means there's no reason for you to, you
hmm.
know. I see you have either come in with already, how to do this. I do, perceive you as like very non-judgmental, always looking for ways to like reframe something, make it happier, better, more useful. And so probably the reason you had no attraction is you didn't need the lessons
Huh.
of those plant medicines.
Oh, I love that. That's so, oh, that's good. I've never thought of it that way. All right, my dear, we're coming to the end. Let's talk about what's exciting you right now with your program and with our retreat and all the fun things that you and Peter are doing together to share with your magic with the world.
Okay. Well, yes, we're very excited that, book 3, it isn't quite published yet, but it will be very shortly. And we have always kind of followed up the release of a book with another in weekend intensive. And so we have one coming up on October 18th through 20th. And we always invite people to participate on the Friday night for free so that they can connect in, see what it feels like for them. And then if they say, yeah, this is really something I want to dive into, they can sign up for the class. It's $222 for 2 full days. We go from, well, mountain time, 8 in the morning until 6 at night on both the Saturday and the Sunday. We will be taking people through clearings, teaching them how to do processes for their own self, the primary distortions, the clearing yourself of these early childhood negative emotions and beliefs that get stored inside you. Teaching people how to release that in themselves, as well as some other really extraordinary. Peter's got this double Taurus thing he's teaching people
Oh
how
yeah.
to create. And we've just been finding our manifestation has gone through the roof using this particular technique. We'll be teaching that. And the general theme of it is a service and helping people understand that when you extend yourself to others, you are always gifted back more
Hmm.
than you give. Um, and just to really encourage people to know we all have something special that we can be teaching or helping others with. And go ahead and give your gift. Don't quit waiting for perfect. Perfect's never going to come.
Right. That's for sure. Those are the magic
This-
moments when I haven't waited. And I always say that to people that have that hesitancy because it's not done right, it's not ready, or like just do it. Like it's, you're never going to think it's perfect and you're going to sit there and wait and someone else is going to do
yeah.
it.
Take the pressure. I,
Yeah. Yeah.
Take the pressure off. People are always so grateful for what it is you extend to them, and they don't expect it to be perfect. You
Right.
know,
And I
they're
look
just going to
back
be
at,
grateful for whatever way
yes.
you feel like you can gift.
Right.
Go
And
ahead.
I think of me with this podcast. I was clueless. And I just kept saying, having a yes, 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 you got to do this. I didn't know why. And I think now, like, that's a perfect example of if I did listen to the person inside my head saying, don't do it. Who's going to listen? Who are you going to interview? Who's going to say yes? And I just ignored that. And I just kept saying, there's a pull, something's calling me. And, almost 5 years ago, like to think that, and of the people I met, the growth I've had, the retreats, like I would have laughed if I said to my 5 year ago self, you're going to be, having retreats with Peter and Tracy. Like I would have said, oh, I'm sure, but it's like, it just, it's like that. It's just saying yes and not knowing where it's going to take you, but going and just doing it and not knowing that it doesn't have to be perfect because it is perfect regardless. I always say
Yeah.
everything's perfect, right? Like I said that to Paige today. She was saying something and I said, honey, it's perfect. Like you're going to see it's perfect. It's exactly what you need right now. And you can
Yeah.
call it this or you can call it that, but it's just perfect.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Absolutely.
okay. So then let's talk about the retreat in January that we manifested.
Yes.
Yes, you are magic manifestors. Just the thought that when I look back at how Peter and I ended our uh, podcast that day, and I click, pause, and we visit afterwards, and I started saying, one day Tracy, you're gonna have to come to my retreat. He's like, oh, well, let's figure that out. I'm in. I said, what? And I said, okay. And it was like we had a date. I said, okay, let's do January because the holidays and whatever. And then I said, we'll do this the 25th and 26th. He's like, okay. We write it down and I'll find a place and we'll start, talking about it and we'll do, interviews and get Tracy so people can meet Tracy in a deeper way. And then the next day he's like, where are we flying to? Like San Diego. He's like, oh, okay. The next day, okay, we got our tickets. I go, oh my gosh, this is for real. So I
Yeah.
really like, it's just amazing when you live in that place of just saying, let's do it. Like why, if that came into my mind, he said, yes, let's go. Like, and then look what we get to do. We get to see each other in
Yeah.
January. Amazing.
Well, we just appreciate that you understand the true meaning of courage is you take your fear and you go, okay, come on, we're going.
Yep. We're going. Let's
We
go.
all have it. We all have the doubt and fear and everything, and we just have to go ahead and take action.
Right. Oh, Tracy, it's been so fun. I've loved it.
Yeah, and I am super excited about the retreat. As much as I have intense gratitude for the technology that lets us do these kinds of things, it really is magic when we get together in person. And
Yes.
just always so beautiful being able to connect with people in that deeper live environment. So,
Oh,
yeah, I have so much gratitude to you for stepping up and
hey,
organizing a whole 2-day retreat.
I know. Amazing. It's funny because my word for the year was connection. And I
Mhm.
hadn't even, I had said, oh, we'll do a retreat. I don't know, breath work. I had a friend that just learned breath work. So that kind of was what instigated my mind. And, um, and here I am a year later, like I've had every other month, there's been a retreat. I've met the most amazing people. And then I'm thinking, so I always say like, have a word for the year. Like, because it's like an intention. I think intention is so important. Intention every day, right? Like that's part of my morning routine. But when you set that intention and I put that word out there and you realize, look what you created by just putting that one word connection. It's like this a domino. It just expands into this where you had no clue that you saying that one intention would end in this amazing year of being in these retreats and then get to really start the new year with you taking us to the next level for 2025, right? I think that's so fun to start 2025 in a group at this retreat together in San Diego. Um,
Yeah, and that's
yeah.
beautiful that you said that. Maybe we'll think about having everybody choose their word for the year
Yeah.
when we're at the workshop together. And this is such a brilliant word because I feel like we're still in the process of moving back into connection after all the COVID lockdowns, and it was just how the whole world basically shifted during that time. And it's always felt to me like the biggest piece that was lost was connection.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So, thank you. I appreciate you. You're beautiful. You have shine. Your light, it just keeps getting brighter and brighter. And it's so exciting to watch and see what comes now and comes next and all the things. I can't wait to see you in person and hug you and just be able to spend a weekend together. So thank you, Tracy.
And you have such an incredible gift for welcoming people and making events beautiful. And so I just can't wait to see this glorious place where I know we're all going to meet and have just an incredible connection and growth experience together.
Thank you. And to get a hold of you, I know the website's becomingawesome.one. They can
Yes.
connect with you there, right?
And it's .one, not the actual number one, becomingawesome.one.
Right.
Yeah, so you just go there, all the information about classes, community, signing up for sessions, it's all there.
Thank you.